Hello, this is Sherman Blackwell, and welcome to today's program presented by Singing River Services. Thank you for joining me today. It is a great opportunity to get to be here today and to talk to you about issues concerning mental health and surrounding issues that are important as well. And today is no different. I'm going to share some distinguish try-tos between fact and fiction on a couple of things on some recent data that we just received, and want to at the outstart remind you of a couple of things that are coming up. April 13th, which is a Monday, we're going to be hosting the commissioners meeting for the state of Mississippi, commissioners being mental health commissioners from 82 counties, and the directors from the 15 community mental health centers, along with some of their board members, some legislators, and we're going to be doing that. That's going to be April 13th at the LaFont, and that's from 10 to 12 this coming April 13th. And so we want to remind you of that date. Also, we're very excited about our symposium this year, May 14th at the Gaucher Convention Center from 10 to 2, an opportunity for us to showcase some of our services, and also we invite other vendors and ancillary groups that would like to showcase their services as well. It's a great opportunity for you to come by and to talk with a mental health professional or a professional in a related field and to get some information about mental health in Jackson County and the things and the services that are provided there. Larry Swearingen is going to be our keynote speaker this year, and we're going to serve a light lunch, so we want to invite you to be part of that. That's going to be at the Gaucher Convention Center, same place it was last year, and we about outgrew it last year, and that was our first time since Katrina, previous to Katrina. We had them at Pelican Landing, and because it had grown, the crowds had grown so large. And so we're excited about that the opportunity to get to share information and get to talk to individuals one-on-one about mental health and mental health related issues. We recently, of course, we have a lot of relationships with hospitals around the state, and Mississippi State Hospital at Whitfield, Bo Chestang, who is the director there, does an excellent job, a good friend of mine. Has recently done some updated survey and information and put that information in the form of their newsletter, and I want to share that with you. I was so impressed, and of course some of the things that we have been saying also, but I want to go down and do a little tutorial today on mental health, aka mental illness, fact or fiction, and kind of distinguish between some facts and make some commentary as we go along. This is facts about mental illness. He's got it broken up into fact or fiction. The first statement is stated under the fiction category, and he states that mental illness is a rare disease and affects very few people. The fact is that mental illness is more common than cancer and heart disease combined. There are some 54 million Americans are affected by a mental illness, and so it's very common in our nation, and so it is a misnomer to say that it's something that's very rare. In fact, it's very common. 1 in 5 families will be affected by some type of mental illness, and so that's one reason that we think that it's important to bring a program like this on the air and to talk to you about that and let you know that there are facts concerning that. And there's help available. There's help from not only Singing River Services, but from a lot of groups in our community. A lot of groups that focus on children, focus on adults, focus on adolescents, focus on how parents can cope with issues that involve mental health issues with their children or with the aging. I was part of a conference call on dementia this past week from across the state, and actually affected more than one state, more than our state in that conference call, talking about dementia and the related issues that that causes. And of course, we are talking dementia by and large is atrophy of the brain, or it can be a physical disease, of course, as it is, but primarily it affects people very emotionally, with a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, let alone the family members. Second fiction that people need to be made aware of is that Mr. Chastain postulates here: all people with mental illness are frequently extremely violent or dangerous. That's the idea that has evolved through the years, not only in our nation, but through the years, because most of the time people are afraid or apprehensive, to say the least, about something that they do not understand and are not aware of. Fact of it is that most people with a mental illness are no more violent than anyone suffering from any other serious illness. Now, more often, they are quiet, they are withdrawn, they are fearful. And so more often they are the victims of violence. Every now and then something will go wrong. You'll see it in the paper or you'll hear about it, and because that one person may have had that, sure, they can get violent, but that's not the norm. Individuals with mental illnesses are, as I mentioned, mostly withdrawn, mostly fearful, quiet, and they themselves, more often than not, are the victims of violence. Fiction. Mental illness is the same as mental retardation. Mental retardation now is an antiquated term. We use the term intellectual disability. Mental illness is not the same as someone with an intellectual disability, formerly known as mental retardation. Mental retardation or intellectual disability is an intellectual deficit, mostly occurring at birth or injury during infancy or childhood. Mental illness strikes people of normal intelligence, causing symptoms that make it difficult for them to continue performing at a normal level. And many times the onset is late in life. The standard thinking and the DSM now for the onset of a person that was to have schizophrenia will be somewhere between 17 and 18 up to 20 or 26. That's not completely galvanized absolutely, but by and large the majority, the onset time will happen during that period of time. Many times individuals will suffer from depression late in life or in a midlife configuration. They will have that onset at that particular time. So it's not the same as a intellectual disability, where someone will only achieve a certain intellectual level, that level or below. Mental illness is a different type of illness, and though most states under one umbrella will have mental illness and intellectual disabilities. Some states, like the state of Mississippi, also has the substance abuse or the A&D program, and there's a lot to be said for substance abuse. That it can certainly be part of a genetic construct also. It can be part of a learned behavior. It can be part of many things. And so as we move down the list here, let's talk about fiction. He cites mental illness is caused by being weak-willed. If teenagers and young adults did not abuse alcohol or drugs, there would be less incidents of mental illness. That's not so. Severe mental illness are basically biological brain. The brain gets sick. It's brain disease, a disease of the brain caused by some type of disruption in the brain chemistry. Genetic factors can create a certain predisposition towards having a mental illness. Life stressors, death, the loss of a job, many things, war, post-traumatic stress issues can trigger the onset of symptoms. These are illnesses. These are illnesses, just like diabetes is an illness, just like cancer is an illness. People with mental illness cannot either just snap out of it, can't just get over it. Their condition is more than someone that can just snap out of it. It's something that many times needs the assistance of course, the medical community first, and of course, clinicians, and of course, the caring family. Maybe the family first, obviously, would be the caretaker, the one that would recognize, particularly when we're talking about children, adolescents, and those members of our family. And that's important to recognize, and that's why we do this. That's why we do this program, is to talk about information that is available, and we have much of that. We have a lot of information that is available that we'd be glad to put into your hands, and you can call the number that you see on the screen there. Ask for Beth Finnick, who is our clinical director, and we'll be glad to get that information out to you. And we're going to go ahead and take a break here, and when we come back, we're going to try to distinguish more between what is fact about mental illness and what is fiction, and we'll do that right after these messages. Hello, this is Sherman Blackwell, and welcome back to the second half of today's program. Thank you for being with us today. This morning I had the opportunity to sit with a couple of individuals from the Sheriff's Department, Virgil Moore and Valerie DiMaggio. They were in my office today, and I wanted to take time to tell you a little bit about what they've got going on, because we try to work real closely with the Jackson County Sheriff Department, and we certainly appreciate Mike Bird, who does an excellent job in that position, and all of the deputies and all of law enforcement and all of our municipalities in Jackson County. These are challenging times for them. They're difficult times for them. These are dangerous times that we live in. But we have become part of supporting a program about prevention, where in a booklet form about keeping children safe and drug-free, about child safety, about drug awareness, and the range of topics that include in this brochure that Valerie said would be ready in probably about 60 days. Broad range of topics, including peer pressure, some things about peer pressure. We think that's very important to understand and get the information out about that. Internet safety, and I was amazed at the issues that are going on right here in our county. Of course, the internet really has no boundaries, I guess, but there's some terrible things that are happening. Gang prevention is going to talk about that. It's going to talk about stranger danger, and of course how to respond as children, and children need this information. Sad to say in the day in which we live, but they need it more and more. Drug education and basic safety and other community concerns that are part of that, and we are just delighted to be able to join in with the Sheriff's Department and support that, as I know many people in Jackson, many agencies, many businesses in Jackson County also do that, along with other things that the Sheriff's Department is doing. A benefit, I think a fishing benefit, the 18th, and that's a benefit that the funds out of that go to assist people in the community, to help people who've lost their houses and homes. So I appreciate that, and any time that you can make a contribution along those lines. And it's great that our sheriff's office is not only just, if you will, after the bad guys, but trying to help folks at the same time. And so we certainly appreciate that, and we support that very much. The first half of the program, I talked about trying to differentiate some of the fact from fiction regarding mental illness, and I'm going to continue that. We've gotten some data here. Bo Chestang, who is the executive director at the State Hospital for Mississippi at Whitfield, put together some information, and we want to share that information with you. We hope to have Bo on the program sometime. I think that his wife is from this area, and he's a good friend of mine. We appreciate him so much. Schizophrenia here is a fiction category. Schizophrenia is a disease that affects mainly males. Mental illness does not affect the average person. As I mentioned at the top of the show, 54 million people in the United States of America will be affected by some form of mental illness. Mental illness can happen to anyone at any time. No one is immune. It's an equal opportunity disease, if you will. It'll strike families of all walks of life, the haves and the have-nots, and everybody in between. And in fact, regardless of age, regardless of income, race, religion, or education, but there are some bold and brave people who have done some things in the past and who are doing some things contemporarily too. But there are people like actress Patty Duke and Robin Williams. Most people may not know they have successfully struggled with their bipolar disorder and have struggled to continue to live a productive life. Mike Wallace, that world-renowned newsman, has been treated for depressive illness. Former Green Bay Packer Lionel Aldridge has lived with schizophrenia for several years. So the truth of the matter is there are a lot of cases, there are a lot of people that we could talk about who have a mental illness and who have continued to live a productive, forward life of integrity and accomplishment. And so that's very, very important to know. Everybody needs a mentor. Everybody needs a goal. Everybody needs a person to look up to and to pursue and to follow. And some of these folks that I've just mentioned have come against great struggles and have made impacts, positive impact on a lot of people's lives. The next fiction category, topic, if you will, is that there is no hope for people with mental illness. There are more treatments. The fact is there are more treatments today than at any other time. More strategies, more community support system, more agencies like Bridges and NAMI and groups that work outside of the if you will, the professional area to grow, to increase support for individuals that suffer with a mental illness. People with mental illnesses lead very active and productive lives, as we just mentioned in the afore category. with people like Robin Williams. Life is full of struggles, it's full of difficulties, it's full of challenges. Just because someone may be diagnosed with a mental illness doesn't mean that all hope is gone. I'm here to tell you today that you can continue to live and be productive in the community with a mental illness, and that's important for you to know. Fiction. I can't do anything for a person with mental illness. Sad to say, in a lot of areas, people with mental illness in a family, the way they used to treat them was to ship them away, send them away, send them to another state, send them to another area. But now more and more through education, through understanding, through medicine, through strategies, people are staying at home. Historically, people were put in institutions. A lot of them, many now, live autonomously in the community with a support system, such as the support system that Singing River Services provides, like case management, our clubhouse model, our transitional living employment program, our clinics that we have now. And right now we have 3 psychiatrists on staff, Dr. Hassel, Dr. Barnes, Dr. Davis, and we're getting ready to add another physician to our staff along with an additional nurse practitioner to our staff. And I was talking to someone in the community, I won't say his name, just last week, and because you would recognize his name, and he thanked me for the work that we're doing. And of course I told him it's not me, it's certainly our staff and our caring people, but unbeknownst to me, he just put our system to the test, which is an imperfect system, just like at the hospital or any doctor's office. It's an imperfect system, and especially when you deal with challenging issues that we deal with. But he said he wanted to thank me and the staff people for the professionalism and the integrity that they showed this person. He could have called me or one of my leadership people and gotten some quick response, but he was satisfied with going through the system, and I told him I appreciated that so very much. Testing, and that's okay. And with 3 minutes left to go, let me tell you there are some things that you can do. We don't want to label people anymore. We need to be beyond that. We need to learn, educate ourselves about mental health issues. We need to understand that we can treat people with mental illnesses with respect, with dignity, just like as we would anyone else with any other type of disease. The respect of rights of people with mental illness. Don't discriminate when it comes to working with them, just like other people with other disabilities. Of course we have, and thank God we live in America, we have some protection under the law for that. These are people, and we're in the people business, and if we're not in the people business, then I don't know who is. And let me remind you, April 13th, we're going to be hosting the commissioners meeting for mental health. What's significant about that is that commissioners from all across the state with community mental health directors get together and they talk about programs and issues that are currently going on in the state of Mississippi relative to Mississippi, to the citizens of Mississippi, regarding treatment and strategies and a plan, a strategic plan of moving forward in the state of Mississippi. Also, our symposium, May 14th, is going to be at the Gaucher Convention Center. We certainly look forward to this time every year. May is Mental Health Month, the time to recognize the needs, bring to the fore, become transparent, stay transparent, be open with the issues that we deal with. We'll have some all of our programs displayed. We will have other folks in there, ancillary groups in there, and we will have opportunity, you'll have opportunity to talk to a mental health professional. We're going to be there from 10 to 2, have a light lunch, have a keynote speaker, but basically want you to come and get some information, talk to somebody about anything that you'd like to talk about relative to the mental health and mental health issues, and that's going to be a very, very important time. And we're looking forward to that. And as again, Larry Swearingen, who is a former director of NAMI and with the Department of Mental Health over Community Services for some 30 some odd years, will be our keynote speaker. And if anyone knows the state of mental health in the state of Mississippi, it is him. And he is a true advocate for every person with mental illness in the state of Mississippi. Thanks for tuning in today. I certainly appreciate your time and appreciate you watching, appreciate the comments. If you have any inquiries or questions, give us a call at that number that you see on the screen. Otherwise, we will be back next week at this same time.